part one of my series on specimen carp fishing style on a commercial water. I'm going to do a rig session. I'm going to show you how to tie a basic knotless knot hair rig. Now, a hair rig, as you probably know, is a fundamental part of every good carp rig, and though it may look a bit daunting at first, it is a very easy rig to tie. So though you may be inclined to go to your tackle shop and purchase some pre-made ones, I'm going to encourage you now to get some materials and tie your own, because you'll be able to tweak them to exactly how you want them, and it's a lot more rewarding catching fish on a rig that you've made yourself. So without further ado, I'm going to show you how to tie a basic carp rig by starting with the basic materials for the hair rig. So here we have all the basic components that you should need to have to tie your hair rig. So from left to right, first we have a basic bait and needle, then some braid scissors, size 10 Armour Teflon coated hooks. Size 10's my preference. I don't find it too big or too small, and I've used it for fish from £6 all the way up to my personal best of £39, and had no problems with a hook of that size. Then we move on to the hook length material. I prefer a braid. This is non-coated, which is more basic, which is what you want to get if you're new to tying your... So there you go. A nice little fish I had when I was blogging for you. My basic bottom rig on a strawberry boilie in the margin. Good fun. Sticking back. So moving on. Next we have my hook link material. I like a braid hook link personally. I've used other materials such as fluorocarbon, but I've always come back to braid, which is what I started on. It's just normal uncoated braid, this one. I do like to use coated hook links sometimes, but for this exercise, just a basic braid. And this one is by Corda. I do favour the Corda gear, as you might be able to tell, and it's a weed green colour, and it's just a basic uncoated braid. Next we have some silicone tubing, which is very stretchy. We'll only use a tiny bit of this just to get the hair to come off the hook at the correct angle, as you'll see soon. Might use one or two bits, but normally one. And then of course we have the baits. For this one I'm going to be using strawberry boilie, which I know work here very well on this lake, tipped with a piece of plastic corn. I also know if I make the hair long enough to tip it with the corn, I can also then tip it with a maggot, which with these particular boilies I do quite like to do. So let's move on and tie our first knots. So you want to start by making a small loop knot in the end of the braid, as shown in the insert. It's just a simple overhand double knot, and then trim off the tag end. So then you want to thread your bait on, like so. This enables you, so when you thread your hook down the line, you can judge how long you want your hair without guesstimating, so you can get it the perfect length. Next, you want to pull the braid off the drum and to the length you obviously want it, but then give it a bit extra for the knotless knot at this end, and of course whatever you're tying to, be it a quick link or a swivel, at the other end. So now if you take off your baits and thread a tiny little cut piece of this silicone onto your bait needle, and you want to put your bait needle through the loop and then slide the piece of silicone up onto your line, like so. And then you want to thread the baits back on, and then we'll put the hook on. So now you want to thread the hook through the back onto the line so that it sits like that. And then what you want to do is thread the piece of silicone onto the bend of the hook. See the insert for that. So now we've got the silicone on the hook. We want to get it to sort of where we want it. I like to leave a bit of a gap. You want to leave a gap there. If you have it right up close to the body, you risk hooking a few not so well and bumping a few off, so it's good to have a bit of movement there. And also if you want to put different baits on. So I'm going to go for about there, I reckon. And then if you see the insert, you want to start wrapping some wraps around the eye, the shank of the hook, going from the eye down. Now there's not a strict amount that you need to do here, but I tend to go for about 10 or 11 down, so that will be about there. So then you want to come back up. I tend to do always 3 here, so 1, 2, and then 1 right round the eye, and you take the line back through the eye of the hook from where you passed it through in the beginning. So then that should complete your knotless knot. So you've got the barrel here, and then your line coming out the front of the hook here, your piece of silicone holding the bait on, which obviously you can still maneuver around, and then your bait. So there you go, that's your basic hair rig. Now all that's left to do is to tie on the end what you're going to use to attach it to a main line. Now some use basic swivel, and others use some other things. I personally like to use one of these small teardrop shaped links, which I will attach to a quick link which goes to the main line. So now I have attached the little teardrop link onto the end, and that's the finished rig. Basic braid, knotless knot, there's my bait there, little piece of silicone there, and then our connection to the rest of the line. To see how then I attach this to the end rig of my bottom rods, please see part 2 where I'll show you the rest of the rig and how it works. So now let's put this rig into action, see if we can't catch us a carp or two. Another pretty little fish on my basic rigs in the margin. So thanks for checking out my first video. Please subscribe and tight lines, guys.